Welcome back. This is Pat with the Hardwire Tackle, coming to you from the Hardwire Tackle box once again. Today I'd like to talk to you about your leader selection. We have, as you can see, a wide variety of leaders, and a lot of people always ask which one works the best. Well, that's going to be up to you to decide once I give you some information about each one of these. Let's start at this end with probably the most forgiving. And when I say most forgiving, we're talking about the least amount of tangles or fouling, getting it to the bottom. On this double rig here, your sinker or weight goes on the bottom corkscrew and your line goes on the top. And as it drags it down to the bottom, there's enough resistance that these can't go back up and wrap around your line as they're descending. These work really great for halibut and lingcod, especially if you get a fish that pulls your bait off. You have at least another bait there to bring him back for maybe another strike. Or if you're lucky enough, you catch 2 fish at a time. The thing with this is you want to check your local rules and regulations to make sure you can fish with 2 hooks at the same time. If you can't, we have a couple other options here. This next one is like a spreader bar. Your weight goes on the corkscrew, your line goes to the swivel, and as the weight pulls it down, there's enough resistance here that it will not spin around your line. Now I say it will not. Of course, there's always times and conditions that it may come back and get it, but general rule of thumb, it won't. If your rules and regulations won't allow you to fish 2, this is basically half of a double rig, which works basically the same way. Sinker on the bottom, line to the top, and there's enough resistance that it won't pull the bait around your line. Moving down the line, we have what I call an inline sinker slider. Now, I've put a corkscrew in the inline, and that's where your weight goes. Attach your line up here, and as it's dropping to the bottom, it will pull straight down and keep from fouling on your line. We also have those in Gangian Line. Now, Gangian Line is, if you're not familiar with it, is a tough cord that the commercial fishermen use for setting skates, and they have for the last, I don't know how many hundreds of years. We have it in different configurations, but this one is of the inline slider. And once again, this will pull down, and there's enough resistance here that it will lessen the amount of tangles that you have. Then we break out into basically just a straight up halibut leaders. Now, there's a myriad of different configurations that you can have. Bottom line, you always want to put a fresh or a good piece of bait on it because the scent's what's going to bring them around. And you can decorate them, or they're decorated with squid bodies, skirts, spinning glows. The sky's the limit. What you want to think about is if they strip off the bait and you don't have any more scent, is there enough there for them to come back and be interested again before you have to reel it up? Or you can simply run just a plain Jane rig. Now, you got to ask yourself, how do I attach a weight to that? And what we have are what we call sinker sliders. They're in 2 different lengths, a short one and a long one. Your line will go to the swivel, and then your hook gets attached to the corkscrew. And what that allows is the sinker to run up and down the monofilament. You can put it directly to your line, but the problem is with that is over time, and you will forget about it, where you've tied your knot to this swivel, the sinker slider or the corkscrew swivel will end up chasing it and it will eventually break. Also have the sinker sliders in a Gangian line. The nice thing about this, once again, is it's easier to handle. If you go to hoist a fish in the boat, simply grab that and hoist them up in the boat. Last but not least is a jig leader. In the previous video, when I talked about rigging jigs, we talked about using a jig leader. Say you have a fish and it comes around to the side and strikes it instead of from behind. If you tie directly to it, it's going to cut your line. It's going to swim off with your jig. The last thing to consider when you're looking at your leaders is what kind of hook do you want? Here in Alaska, we pretty much use a lot of 16-aught hooks, a few 18s and some 20s, but there are a lot of people that like the J hooks, and we do offer them with the J hook rig. I hope this answers all of your questions. If there's something I missed, please shoot us a question at the bottom of the page and we'll get right back to you. Thanks for watching.